This is one-on-one session with the Forum IAS founder and director Ayush Sinha. In this session, students are asked questions to test their preparedness for the personality test. One-on-one sessions are not mock panel sessions.
So, Ankita, can you briefly introduce yourself to me?
So, I'm Ankita. I'm from Lucknow. I have done electrical engineering from NIT Allahabad and worked in Pepsico for some time, nearly 10 months. And presently, I am working as Assistant Commissioner Commercial Tax Trainee Officer in Uttar Pradesh government.
So, I see that you have chosen philosophy as an optional.
Yes, sir.
What was the reason for the choice of philosophy?
So when I was choosing my option for the exam, I looked at the syllabus of few options that I was interested into, and philosophy was one of them. Its syllabus was concise, and I had immediate guidance. One of my seniors had this option, and he had cleared this exam, so I had immediate guidance in him. So I took this option.
So, it is said that the certain elements of Jaina philosophy, they can be a useful tool in fighting global terrorism and
Sorry, sir. Global terrorism and
yes,
what was this?
global terrorism and extremism or
Yes.
fundamentalism. They can be
Yes.
fought if certain elements of Jaina philosophy is propagated in the world across communities. What am I talking about?
So, Jaina philosophy, the basic value that Jaina philosophy teaches is that of tolerance. It comes through its teachings of Syadvad and teachings of Anekantvad, where it says that there is no one absolute truth. Every truth from an empirical level is just a perspective. And we see that the problems of extremism and terrorism happen when we completely align ourselves to one absolute truth which we think is right and we forego of every other perspective. So if we are able to uh, translate this philosophy into the minds of the people, they'll be more tolerant of differing views of each other, and that's how extremism will not take place.
Jaina tales have the Jaina literature also have story that has demonstrated the manyness of reality.
Yes,
Can you narrate the story to me?
so it is the story of parable of elephant, which says, according to which six blind men are trying to decipher what is it that they are touching. So somebody touches the tail and says that it's horse. Then somebody touches the legs and says that this is a pillar. But nobody is able to see the entire reality in its totality, and that is why the six blindfold men start quarreling with each other, because from their perspective it's never elephant, it's only a part of it which they perceive differently. But if they can see the whole reality, like in Jaina's philosophy, the Keval Gyan is seeing the whole entire reality, then all of them would see it as one universal elephant and there would be no fight between them.
Now, can you relate it to fundamentalism?
Yes, sir. In this also, when people are blindfolded by faith and their faith alone, without being able to see the entire reality, which has different perspectives, that's when people become fundamentalist. They do not see reason why differing faiths exist and how their existence can make the universe more wholesome. There is a fundamentalist view where one sticks to one's own opinion and discards the other, and that is how this extremism takes place.
Ankit, so it is said that the government of India is among the largest we call distorter of labor market. I repeat, the government is said to be the largest distorter of the labor market. Right? Do you agree with this statement?
Uh, So I'm unable to understand that in what context is Government of India regarded as the distorter of labor market.
All right. So I'll give you an example. You are currently at an entry level job in the commercial tax under the state services
Yes, sir.
and having your first posting. Now, if you were to get selected for the Indian Revenue Service taxation in the central, which is generally a massive promotion, would you agree that it is a massive promotion?
It's a considerable promotion.
Okay. Do you expect a considerable increase in your salary structure?
So I think salary structure in the initial period is going to remain the same. There is no difference in the salary structure.
Okay, so you are an assistant commissioner. How do you think the salary structure of an inspector, same department?
Sir, I think the salary structure is based on the level of the job profile. Uh, while my level or the entry level in Group A is level 10, I'm not very sure of what level entry is an inspector. So,
I just interviewed I just interviewed an inspector in the same department as me. Interestingly,
yes,
he also has the same salary, at least monthly remuneration in his DAF that you have got.
yes,
All right. He was also from a top college, an FMCG, also from one of the IITs.
yes.
Here is that if you were to work in PepsiCo for like 5, 6 years or 10 years, what would be the promotion prospects and the increase in salary if you have to continue working in the private sector versus if you have to continue in your current position or in any government position?
Yes, sir. I do agree that the increment in salary itself would have been much greater than what the government is offering in an FMCG sector or in a private sector altogether. There, the progression in terms of salary is higher and faster also.
All right. But because salaries at the entry level are so high in the government, don't you think a lot of people think that it is better to do a government job than to go for a private sector job? And therefore, the skill sets may not be commensurate with the experience, but the salaries are very high in the government for entry level. So, don't you think it does distort the labor market for private companies?
So we have to see the two sectors in a way that of roles and responsibilities. Uh, I I think so. The entry level also has various classes. Like I appeared for UPPCS exam, so there were classes of jobs. There was certain class one which whose entry level is similar as that of mine. Then there is another class of jobs where the role and responsibility is different. So the salary structure and the initial period is also different. And when we compare it
No,
to
but Ankita, despite the different roles, such as an assistant commissioner who's selected through state services versus an assistant commissioner selected through the civil services examination versus an inspector selected through any other examination, the salary structures immediately are the same, whether you are an inspector or an assistant commissioner under the state or under the union.
yes,
So
sir.
this kind of distorts it and nearly everybody. So there is no difference as such, right? And these are on the higher side. However, if all right, so that is the point that I wanted to make, but it's okay. The government salaries will be very high for the entry level so that the labor market gets distorted in favor of the government service. However, the salary increments are not higher commensurate with the increase in experience or the skill sets of the employees compared to the private sector. Therefore, people often, after the service, they often feel that
Yes, sir.
they sometimes have a little bit of, did not get matching what you call increments that are there in the private sector. But by that time,
Yes,
the labor market has been distorted for the private sector because the best talent has already moved to the government services.
yes, sir.
Makes sense. All right. And What is so you worked in PepsiCo India Holdings Limited. Ankita, do you think that private companies, these private companies are generating a lot of, they're generating, they've come up with products such as sugary drinks and they have normalized the consumption of sugar in the society. By normalizing, people think that the kind of sugar that is there in Pepsi or a drink like Coca-Cola, people think it's normal to have that kind of sugar. Can we say that?
Uh, so the marketing strategies of these companies definitely target youth of the country. They are the major children and youth. They are the major consumers. To certain extent, they create a mindset that consuming sugary drinks is normal for us. So they do this, but at the same time, it's always marketed as a product that that's associated with I can say fun and not with
Yes.
health. So
Yes, fun and fullness and excitement. So my
yes.
my point here is because of the deep penetration of these cola drinks, don't you think can we broadly say that it has normalized the consumption of high amounts of sugar in the society?
To a certain extent, yes, sir, we can say that it has normalized because even in rural areas, we can see the penetration is quite high. So there is certain level of normalization.
All right. So are you aware that in United States, certain regulations are being brought for regulation of the amount of sugar that they can have in food? Can you tell
Yes,
me
sir.
about it?
So there's a concept of sugar tax that is being implemented, and there have been change in norms also, but I'm not much aware of the norms that have been changed by USDA.
Right. Do you think we should come up with regulations with how much sugar these drinks can have for the larger interest of the society?
So looking at our society, basically Indian society, there can be regulations to reduce the consumption of sugar and nudge people towards more healthy lifestyles. But sir, at the same time, it's important that this behavioral change is brought about these companies itself. Instead of taxing sugar, there could be ways to bring about a soft behavioral nudge. Like in PepsiCo only, they have expanded their portfolio because the society is becoming more conscious of their health. So the portfolio has been expanded to Tropicana to include more healthy drinks like shikanji is also being included. While I was working, sir, there was talk about expanding this leg of PepsiCo more than the Pepsi carbonated drinks leg. So that could be a better strategy and more sustainable strategy because even FMCGs provide a lot of employment and their business is also important for the country.
You're an electrical engineer. Tell me, what is off-grid power?
So off-grid power is more localized generation of power at the site where it is consumed. So it does not require the transmission network that is given by the grid. So that is why it's called off-grid.
In terms of environmental sustainability, which is better, off-grid power generation or grid power generation?
So, even in terms of environment sustainability, I think a mix of both is important. While in more distant areas, off-grid power generation can be more will have green footprint because we'll use localized sources of energy. There will not be excessive dependence on thermal power plants, and it has been the vision of the government also, like through schemes like Kusum or Govardhan scheme, where local resources can be used to light the areas. But this could not, this cannot be a substitute to the grid connected power stations because of the geography and the expanse of the population in the country. But it can definitely complement it and make it more sustainable over time.
All right. Ankita, one last question. So you worked as an assistant commissioner in commercial tax as well as you worked in PepsiCo. What difference in culture did you observe in both the organizations?
So I've observed both positive and negative, differences. I see, sir, in private sector, performance evaluation is very objective. Everybody knows their key performance indicators. They know in what deadline they have to cover those indicators, and therefore the work is highly streamlined. While in the department, it's largely based on ACR reports, but there is no objective criteria on the basis of what evaluation is being done or what the target of particular individual is and what would be the repercussion of not following that target. That is not very categorical in the department. So that, and while in some I've seen that in private sector competition is cutthroat, so sometimes even the senior would not be very much willing to teach certain things who's a newcomer would be left on his or her own, sometimes that I've observed. But in the government sector, I've seen that senior junior relationship is very strong. Like seniors act as mentors. They literally handhold you, teach you everything, and even if there is a mistake, they'll they'll not put it on you upfront. They'll try and teach you. So that is a positive that I've observed in my department.
All right, Ankita, your interview is over.